Afzal Ashraf, who's a visiting fellow at the University of Nottingham. Afzal, thanks so much indeed for your time. Give us an analysis of what you think it means for US intelligence that they made such a huge mistake with that drone strike. I mean, out of those 7 young children who were killed, the youngest was 2 years old, and the man who was targeted was an aid worker.
Yes, but I'm afraid this is not new. The only reason we're talking about it is because it happened when it happened and there was a lot of media attention. If we go back as far as 2009, in Kunduz, the Germans attacked villagers taking oil from a tanker, and that resulted in up to 90 casualties. In 2015, just a few years ago, the Americans mistakenly attacked an MSF hospital again in Kunduz, and that resulted in 42 people being killed and many, many being injured. And just 3 or 4 days before Kabul fell, the media reported that there were airstrikes that the Americans had been called to do on behalf of the Afghan army. And that resulted in uncategorized damage and deaths in Kunduz, and the damage was to a clinic. Now, this is a consistent feature of modern warfare. It only makes headlines when somebody talks about it, but most of the airstrikes, or many of the airstrikes that take place in rural areas do take place around villages where you have smaller numbers of casualties that never get airtime. And what we have to understand is that while American weapons are now incredibly accurate, the intelligence is not at all keeping up with it. And this is always going to be a price if you use air power around built-up areas. You cannot ever identify people definitely from the air. You can barely be certain, even on the ground from a distance, who you are targeting. Certainly from the distance you'd have to be. If you're going to call in an airstrike, you've got to be at least 500 meters away. And sometimes you can't clearly identify the people involved. So airstrikes in built-up areas are a very high risk element, and that would not be tolerated in Europe and in the US. So why do we tolerate it in other parts of the world?
Afzal Ashraf, thank you so much indeed for your time, Afzal. Really appreciate it.